Okay.
Yes, it is.
Great. So what you want to do even before you create your website is first get clear on who your ideal client is. And I just created a mind map, and this is a resource that you can download from my website, lorigama.com. And you start here in the center. Can you see my cursor as well? If you can't see my cursor, just
No.
okay. You would start in the center, and you would just write down your characteristics of your ideal client. And I have one example there to get you started. It's in red letters, and one characteristic of your ideal client might be that it's somebody who's fun to work with. So you would just jot down all the characteristics of your perfect client in the center of the circle, and that's where you begin. And I won't go into great detail on the rest of these steps. I'm going to go through them really quickly, but you can download this on your own. It's a free resource on my website, and I encourage you to fill this out. If you think that you know who your clients are, I think it's still worthwhile for you to go through. And if you say that everyone is your client, then I strongly encourage you to go through this exercise, because not everyone is your client, and the more focused you are on who that is, you will actually start to grow your business more and have more fun doing what you do. So after you get out of the center circle and you have your characteristics of your ideal client, you would proceed over to the right area here, number 1, and write down what is their biggest problem, because their biggest problem, ideally, you have a solution for. So write down what that is. It might even be 2 problems, 3 problems, and perhaps you have several services that can solve those problems. Then the next thing you want to get clear on, number 2 below that, is what words would they say when they need your help? They would say, I need either a life coach who can help me organize my life, or I need a graphic artist who can really capture my true essence through my graphics. Whatever they would say, your ideal client would say, I need, that's what you want to write down there. So then this way, after completing this step of your mind map, you're clear on the things that they would say, what they're in need of. You could also describe to other people what your ideal clients would say when they meet them. Then the next step after that is number 3. Are there any other ideal clients that you have? If so, go ahead and jot those down. For example, mine are heart-centered entrepreneurs. These usually are mostly women, but there are many heart-centered men entrepreneurs as well. They might be CEOs. Perhaps you work with only troubled youth. I mean, we could go on and describe different types of clients. But if there are any others besides your biggest, most perfect one, go ahead and jot those down. Then proceed to step number 4, over to the bottom left, and describe what is her or his biggest dream. What is their ultimate achievement that they want to achieve in their life? Perhaps you're the person that can help them get started on their way to their big goal. So write down what things that they are dreaming of, and write down the biggest dream they have. Then that way you're clear on their ultimate goal. After that, then you do step 5, and you write down a name that you can make up for your ideal client, so that you begin to draw out this visual picture in your mind of who your client is. You've even given her or him a name. Perhaps it's Stephanie, or perhaps it's Jonathan. You know how you start to form a picture when you have a name. Write down their gender, primarily female or male. Write down what age or age range they're in. Perhaps it's only women over 45, or perhaps it's men and women between the ages of 18 to 22. So you see why you begin to narrow your ideal clients down into one group, even by just their age range and their gender. Then write down what profession they have, what their annual income is, Are they single, divorced, married? Do they have teenagers in the home? Do they have college-age kids out of the home? Do they have young kids? What are their ages? And so you see that you have created this portrait of your ideal client, and you could even maybe cut out a picture of an ideal client and post that on the mind map as well. And then one last thing is just think of what is their first thought upon awakening. What's the first thing that pops into their head when they wake up in the morning? Usually we have a barrage of thoughts that begin to hit our minds when we wake up. Some people have made a very good habit of immediately thinking of things that make them feel grateful. What are they grateful for? Most of the time, we just think of, okay, what's the biggest problem we have that day and how are we going to solve it? So that's what I want you to think. What would your ideal client say or think of when he or she wakes up? And if that big problem is something you can solve, that's good. And so that would be number 6. What is at the very top of the mind map, what is your solution for your ideal client? And perhaps it's more than one thing. So these would be all of your services. Perhaps you're a life coach, so your services could consist of hourly coaching, or perhaps it's a special program that your clients sign into. Perhaps somebody like me, an online marketer, it would be web design, SEO, social media marketing. So whatever your solutions are for your ideal clients, those are also your services. So I just want to make sure that I hope that was clear. And before we move on to the next thing, Placida, do you think that was pretty clear?
Yes, I think it was pretty clear. Very good, yes.
Okay, great. So let me get rid of this screen share. And we'll move on to the next thing. And the next thing is that can you guys see me okay? We're going to talk about making your website mistake-proof. In other words, we want to get your website ready before you start social networking. So before you tweet or do any Facebook posting or LinkedIn, etc., make sure that your website is ready to receive those visitors. And you can think of this as if you were giving a party in your home. You would get your house in order. You would clean the carpets. You would make sure the furniture was arranged properly. You would make sure the drapes were arranged and you had beautiful flowers, and on and on. So with your website, same thing. Before you get out there social networking, make sure that your website is ready. And primarily you want to make sure that it will convert visitors to work with you when they land there, ideally. So we're going to go over a whole bunch of things that you can do to make sure that your website is ready before you start tweeting or Facebooking and so on. And I do have this checklist as well available on my website, lorigama.com, in case you want to download it. It's free. The checklist is called Mistake Proof Your Website. So one of the first things you want to do even before you begin designing your website is choose an agency or a person who has a portfolio that you really like. You've got to really like their style of web design. You might not know what you like yet, so it's good to look at other colleagues and friends' websites, and if you like those websites, you can see who developed those sites or ask your friends. But be sure that you look at the portfolio first before you even pick up the phone or talk to anybody, because if you don't like their style of design, why bother? The next thing you would want to check after that is, say you found a website agency that you like their style, you like the examples in their portfolio of other websites they've developed. So the next step would be look at their testimonials. Ideally, they should have testimonials on their website. And you can also check out their online reputation. You can Google their name, their business name, and see what shows up on the first page of Google. Ideally, they will have search results, and ideally, they will be positive search results. As long as about 97% or so of those search results are positive ones, and you like their portfolio, then then they're a good choice. You know, add them to your list. But if you've read their testimonials or you've come across online consumer reviews that are negative, or you're seeing search results about them that are negative, you know what to do after that, right? Just don't even add them to your list. The next thing I'd like you to remember before you have your web designer start to draw up what your ideal homepage would look like is to think, you know, you've gotten clear on who your ideal client is. That's the first thing. And the next thing would be to have a compelling headline and copy written already before anybody does any designing, because that way your message is clear. And you know, it doesn't have to be a final draft, because as the website is designed, you'll tweak your content, you'll edit it and make it more clear and more focused. But at least have that compelling headline and at least your homepage message. And let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to jump ahead and share my screen again. Let's see here. Bear with me. I'm going to show you some things on my website. Let me make sure you can see this. Here we go. Okay. Placida, can you see that okay?
I can see it okay.
Okay, thank you. This is a screen capture of my homepage. And I'm going to show you another homepage as well in a few minutes, just so you can get an even better idea of the things that you should have on your website. So one of the things, of course, is your logo. So number one at the top is make sure that your logo is clear and reflects your brand. Number two would be to have a simple navigation menu. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 choices. If you have more than 8 choices in your main navigation menu, you're going to overwhelm your website visitor. They're not going to know which choice to click on first. And the same thing about having empty space as well. If you don't have empty space, if you have a very cluttered homepage, then visually people don't know where to look first, so they feel confused. And get this, you only have 2.7 seconds to capture the attention of that website visitor after they land in your website. It used to be 3 seconds, and now studies have proven that it's 2.7 seconds. So you've really got to be on the ball here and have these things that I call credibility clues, as well as have a very clean, clutter-free web design. So going back to what you're seeing on the screen, number 3, I have a compelling headline. And remember, a few minutes ago, I told you that before you even have a web designer design your website, write your compelling headline and your copy first. So my compelling headline is, online marketing doesn't have to be difficult. Let me show you another one in contrast, just so you have an idea. Amy Porterfield, let me make sure you can see this. I'm going to switch between there. And there it is. Okay. Here we go. So this is a screenshot of Amy Porterfield's homepage, or amyporterfield.com. She's a renowned Facebook expert, and I like to use her homepage as well as an example of a good, well-designed website that is simple, clutter-free, and has the elements in it that will get your visitors to subscribe to your newsletter or download something else that you have, or at least become a fan. So her compelling headline is, "Get free social media updates." And I'll come back to her in a moment, but I just wanted to show you an example of another compelling headline, what her ideal clients would be drawn to. So let's come back to that other example. Oops, wrong one. Here we go. Okay, so now you're seeing my homepage again, and we talked about the compelling headline, number 3. Number 4 is just have a picture of yourself. Here I have a picture. I had a professional photographer. I wanted to show that I'm fun to work with, that I'm easygoing, that I'm very patient, and you know that it's just fun to work with me. And so we thought of this shot, and also wanted to convey what I do. So I have my laptop there showing all the social media icons and so on. Number 5, this is really important. Hopefully you've been published in online publications or even your local newspaper, and you can use these logos from these publications that you've been published in, whether you were a guest blogger in that publication or somebody interviewed you and wrote about you or quoted you, things like that. So if you've been published in a publication, get the logo of that publication and add it to your main picture on your home page. So here you can see I've put my most impressive ones here, so hopefully again you have 2.7 seconds to keep that visitor there, or they're out of there. So one of the things I call credibility clues is having these logos of these publications that you've been included in. Number 6, over to the right, this whole area where I say, do you need VIP? I'm just talking more to my ideal client. It's as though I'm writing her a note. So think of your audience that way. Whoever your ideal clients are, just your website copy should be like a personal letter to them. You should be using words they would use and talking about things that are important to them. Number 7, further down, I just wanted to point out the call to action in this button here. Normally, you would see buttons say submit, you know, after you fill out your name and your email address to sign up for my newsletter. Some people have just a button that says submit. Well, you need to think psychologically. What is that person going to want to do? What is she thinking? Maybe she doesn't want to commit to too much right now. So I carefully chose the words get started, because I wanted people to know that once they sign up, they are at least taking a step in the right direction in getting started with learning about online marketing. I could have chosen other words in my call to action button there. Perhaps I could have said subscribe now or get it now. Just choose something that your ideal clients would feel comfortable clicking on and committing to. I hope that makes sense. Number 8, here's another compelling headline. As you dive into my message here, I tried to address what would my ideal client be feeling when she comes to me. What is her biggest problem? And that's what you should do. Figure out, remember on the client mind map, you figured out what is their biggest problem. And so that's a thing that you want to address and let them know right away that you can solve that. And then let's see, number 9 and 10 in the left here are just some graphics to entice people to download some free resources. But I'm also capturing their email address so that I can stay in touch with them. And what you want to do with that, that's called email marketing, but it's also staying in top of mind awareness, TOMA, T-O-M-A, top of mind awareness with your ideal clients. So think about this. They have gone to the trouble of finding out where your website is. They came to your website. They started reading things on your website, and now you've intrigued them enough that they're actually giving you permission to market to them. They have signed up for your weekly newsletter or e-zine, which is an electronic magazine. So those are your top fans, and you really need to take really good care of them by giving them what you promised. You promised perhaps a checklist, something that they can use to help them, in addition to some weekly tips. But whatever you promised, make sure that you deliver on that promise each time you send that content to them. Don't ever do what's called a bait and switch, where you promise one thing and then you deliver something else. They're just going to unsubscribe. So you want to make sure that you deliver what you promise. It's really important to grow that email list, because you can't always be at the mercy of Google. I mean, they are changing things all the time. I've been a search engine expert since 1999, and I've been following Google, and the things they're doing lately are driving us SEO experts really crazy, because really they're trying to get you to play in their playground by their rules all the time, more and more, and it's getting frustrating for a lot of people. So if you make a wrong move and break one of their rules, they're going to ban you. And then what? You know, you're losing some of your online visibility. So that's why I also encourage you to develop your email list. And I bet you a lot of you are shaking your heads yes, and hopefully have those going. So let me switch over to Amy Porterfield just to further show you some examples here. Let me do the screen share on that. So Amy here's her call to action. It's in these bullet points here, and then her button says, I'd love updates. She's got, over to the left here underneath her pretty picture, she's got a VIP endorsement. So she's got an endorsement there from Mari Smith, who's also a Facebook expert. Then still here on the left, she has chosen to make her blog be her homepage. And what she's doing there is right away she's giving you information and knowledge to empower you. So instead of having a personal message to her ideal client like I do on my homepage, she has chosen to just start off with her blog posts. So you'll see her latest blog post when you land there. She's also got share buttons, so make sure that you have share buttons as well, so that people can share your content with their social networks. And it's like a virtual word of mouth. They do two things. You know, they provide a way for fans to share your content with their tribes. And it's another thing that I call a credibility clue, also known as social proof. When you show the numbers of people who are sharing your content, that's impressive. So when you have, 27 tweets of your latest blog post or more, that's going to impress people when they come to your website. Over on the right side, her compelling free offer is, at this time when I created this screenshot and did this diagram, at this time this was her compelling offer, what you see here. And it's free, and it's one more way for her to capture your email address, right, and get you in her email list so that you're receiving her information every so often. The last thing I wanted to point out here is towards the bottom, she's got her social media icons, and you can follow her on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google+. I just launched my own site, so I still need to add those in case anybody's taking notes. So we're going to talk about making sure that your website displays properly on all devices. And this is called responsive design. That means that your web design responds well no matter what device it's displayed on. For example, your iPad. Your website is going to look different on your iPad and your iPhone and your Droid phone than it does on a laptop if you don't have responsive design. So you need to make sure that your website is designed in what's called responsive design. You could also have a mobile version of your website so that when people find you online from their smartphone, they're going to get the mobile version instead. And there's some things in the code of your website that detect if your website is being viewed on a mobile device versus a laptop computer or desktop computer. So if you choose to get a mobile version of your website, also known as what I call a thumb-friendly version, it's going to have some big buttons so people can easily maneuver it with their thumbs, you know. It's not going to be as pretty as your regular version of your website because usually people who are on the go just want to get to the information. They might want to just call you right away or fill out your email form. They will take a look at all of your pictures and read your information more in depth, perhaps when they have a larger device like an iPad or a laptop computer. So I just want to make sure you're clear on there are two different things that you can have your website developed as for the mobile device, and that's to have a mobile version of your website or just to have your website be done in responsive design. And if it's done in responsive design, it will still display properly on a smaller screen, such as an iPad or an iPhone. You'll be able to easily read your text without having to touch the screen and expand it. It won't be really tiny. So it's a really important thing that you